13 Minutes Before Midnight. Written by Abhaidev. Narrated by Roland Pocon II. Chapter 1. He was sipping coffee when it happened. There was a shrill, ringing sound at first, and then a tear in the fabric of space. Out of nowhere, a body of a woman dropped to the floor. She was naked. Blood oozed out of her private parts and from her throat, which, on a closer inspection, he realized had been slit. "What the?" Ran exclaimed. He blinked repeatedly, as if he could erase the image from before his eyes. But the lifeless body of Jane Doe was still there in his living room. A chill went down his spine. "This can't be happening," he said out loud, his heart throbbing fast. "This is a dream," he said to himself, gulping. "A glitch in the matrix." All of a sudden, a cackle of shrill laughter echoed through the room, but there was no one around. Rehan passed out. His coffee mug dropped to the floor and shattering into smithereens. No, he hadn't been dreaming. A corpse had indeed materialized in the room. It was a nightmare come true. Somehow, Rehan hauled himself to his feet. The germaphobe couldn't believe his eyes. There was a pool of coffee splattered on the floor. Okay, but a pool of blood just 15 feet away from him. What the hell was happening? He heard the shrill cackle again. It was loud, but it felt like it was being broadcasted from nowhere far away. He looked around to ascertain its source, but couldn't. The sound wasn't coming from one particular direction. It was echoing through the room. Was this a joke? He asked himself. An elaborate prank? But why? It didn't make sense. One moment, he was sitting, enjoying his evening coffee, and the next, a nightmare. He pinched himself hard. Perhaps I am still sleeping, he mused. Perhaps this is an elaborate dream, an absurd one. Or maybe I am hallucinating. Did someone slip something into my food? But who? The maid? But why would she? What would she gain by doing that? But it looked real. The corpse of the unknown woman. It all looked real. Rehan approached the dead woman and squatted beside her. Her head was turned to the side, locks of hair covering her cheek. Summoning all his courage, Rehan pulled her hair aside. It was a common face, one with no distinct qualities, but it bore an expression of pain and horror which he had never seen in his life. God only knew what the woman had gone through. He touched her hand. It was cool, but not yet cold. He then dipped his index finger into the pool of blood. It was thickened, but it was still wet, which meant that it hadn't been long since the woman had breathed her last. Yes, she had died recently, and somehow her body had been teleported to his flat just after her death. Who did this to her? The terrified man wondered. And why? The reason became clear to him when he looked at the woman's genitals. She had been raped, perhaps repeatedly, and her private parts had been mutilated with a sharp object, most probably a knife. It was the work of a sick man, an utterly sick man, or perhaps a group of them. But why was her dead body in Rehan's flat? It didn't make any sense. Its presence violated the principle of causality. Or perhaps it did not. Perhaps it was beyond Rehan's understanding. Perhaps there was an aspect of reality he wasn't aware of. He rushed towards the bedroom, picked up his smartphone and dialed the National Emergency Helpline number. As it rang, it occurred to him that it was futile. Who would believe him? Who would believe that the corpse had materialized in his flat out of nowhere? "Hello?" said a female voice at the other end of the line. "This is the National Helpline. What is your emergency?" Rehan ended the call. "I have to deal with this myself," he said out loud, a sudden burst of determination coursing through him. "I have to get rid of this body before it starts stinking." Having made up his mind, Rehan picked up his flat keys, his backpack, and his wallet, and rushed out of the room. It was time for some shopping at the nearby department store. Chapter 2. But before he began cutting the corpse into small pieces, he had taken photographs of the face of the deceased. It could come in handy, for it was only through photographs
Sample complete. Ready to continue?